I've always been the type of person who values observation over action, at least at first. I don't rush into things, and I don't feel the need to shout my worth from the rooftops. I've always believed that actions speak louder than words, and that true strength lies in patience. That mindset is what led me to where I am today, though my journey was far from conventional. 8 years ago, my father passed away unexpectedly. He was a brilliant man, an innovator, a leader, and one of the co-founders of Innovex Systems, a growing tech company known for its cutting-edge software solutions. His death was sudden, and it left a hole not only in my heart but in the company he had helped build. After his passing, I inherited 85% of Innovex's shares, making me the majority shareholder at the age of 24. It was a heavy responsibility, one I wasn't sure I was ready for. At the time, Innovex was being led by my father's best friend and business partner, Martin Gray. Martin had stepped in as CEO after my father's death, and he was determined to honor my father's vision for the company. He became a mentor to me, guiding me through the complexities of the business world. "Max," he told me one day, "if you want to lead this company one day, you need to understand it from the ground up. Work in the trenches. Get to know the people who make this place run. That's how you'll earn their respect, and how you'll earn your own." His words stuck with me. Instead of stepping into an executive role, I decided to join Innovex as an entry-level employee. I kept my ownership stake a secret, known only to Martin and a few other executives. My goal was simple: learn everything I could about the company while earning my place among its employees. The early years weren't easy. I worked in various roles: data analysis, project management, operations, learning every aspect of the business. I made mistakes, faced challenges, and learned valuable lessons along the way. What struck me most was the culture at Innovex. Most of the employees were hardworking, collaborative, and supportive. They valued teamwork over ego and treated each other like family. It was a reflection of the values my father and Martin had instilled in the company from the beginning. But not everyone shared those values. Enter Lucas Porter. Lucas was the team leader in the department I eventually joined, and from the moment we met, I could tell we wouldn't get along. Lucas was everything I wasn't: loud, flashy, and desperate for validation. He wore designer suits, drove a leased sports car, and made sure everyone knew just how important he was. To Lucas, appearances were everything. And to him, I was invisible. At first, his behavior was subtle. During team meetings, he'd interrupt me, talk over me, or dismiss my ideas with a condescending smile. "Good try, Max," he'd say, his tone dripping with insincerity. "But let's stick to the experts on this one." I ignored him. Lucas wasn't the first person to underestimate me, and he wouldn't be the last. But over time, his behavior escalated. Lucas had a way of making people feel small. He'd belittle his subordinates, take credit for their ideas, and assign them menial tasks that had nothing to do with their roles. He thrived on power plays, using his position to boost his ego at the expense of others. And for some reason, I became his favorite target. "Max, you're good with the grunt work," he told me once, after handing me a stack of low-priority reports. "Let's leave the big picture thinking to me." I wanted to push back, but I knew it wouldn't accomplish anything. Lucas wasn't interested in listening to me, and I wasn't interested in wasting my energy on someone like him. Instead, I focused on my work, quietly contributing to projects and finding ways to improve the team's efficiency. Whenever Lucas dismissed one of my ideas, I'd implement it anyway, subtly, in the background, and let the results speak for themselves. But Lucas wasn't satisfied with ignoring me. He wanted to make sure I stayed in my place. The breaking point came during a high-profile project. Our team was tasked with developing a custom software solution for a major client, a project that had the potential to transform the company's reputation. I threw myself into the work, staying late to fine-tune the code, troubleshoot issues, and streamline processes. Lucas, meanwhile, spent most of his time in meetings, talking about strategy and vision without contributing anything tangible. When it came time to present our progress to the client, Lucas insisted on taking the lead. "I'll handle this," he said. "You can just be there for support." I bit my tongue and let him take the spotlight. The presentation started smoothly enough. Lucas strutted into the conference room, oozing confidence, and began pitching the software as though he'd personally developed it. "Our team has worked tirelessly," he said, flashing his trademark grin. "But as a leader, it's my job to guide them toward success." The client, Clara Hughes, wasn't impressed. About halfway through the presentation, she asked a detailed question about the software's architecture, a question Lucas clearly wasn't prepared for. "Well, the team worked on that," he stammered, "but overall." He trailed off, his confidence faltering. "That's not quite accurate," I said, stepping in. I explained the architecture in detail, addressing Clara's questions with clarity and precision. By the time I finished, she was nodding approvingly. "Thank you, Max," she said. "It's clear you've put a lot of thought into this." Lucas looked like he wanted to disappear. The days following the presentation were tense. Lucas avoided me whenever possible, but I could tell he was fuming. I knew he wouldn't let this go, but I wasn't worried. The company's annual strategy meeting was just around the corner. It was a gathering of key stakeholders, shareholders, and executives, a chance to shape the future of the company. I knew Lucas would be there. And I knew it was time to reveal the truth. The annual strategy meeting was one of the most important events of the year at Innovex Systems. It was where key decisions about the company's future were made, new initiatives, leadership changes, and long-term goals were all on the table. Attendance was strictly limited to senior executives, department heads, and the company's shareholders. For years, I had attended the meeting quietly, sitting in the back, observing the discussions, and taking notes. No one paid much attention to me, which was exactly how I wanted it. But this year was different. This year, Lucas would be there. The morning of the meeting, I arrived early, dressed in my usual understated style. I wasn't one for flashy suits or expensive watches, unlike some of my colleagues. To me, substance always mattered more than appearances. When I walked into the boardroom, I immediately noticed Lucas standing near the coffee station, chatting animatedly with a group of managers. He was in full performance mode, gesturing wildly and laughing louder than necessary. As I took my seat, Lucas's eyes met mine. His expression shifted from smug to confused, and then to irritated. "What are you doing here, Max?" he asked, his voice dripping with disdain. "This meeting is for senior staff and executives," he continued. "You're in the wrong place." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my notebook and waited for the meeting to begin. Lucas scoffed and walked away, muttering something under his breath about people not knowing their place. Moments later, Martin Gray, the CEO of Innovex Systems, entered the room. The room fell silent as he greeted the attendees with his usual warmth and authority. "Good morning, everyone," Martin began. "Before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge someone very special." He paused, scanning the room before his gaze landed on me. Max Taylor has been a dedicated member of our Innovex family for many years. But what many of you may not know is that Max is also our majority shareholder, owning 85% of the company's shares. He's been instrumental in our success, and I'm thrilled to have him here with us today. A ripple of shock spread through the room. Gasps and whispers filled the air as heads turned toward me. Lucas's reaction was priceless. His face turned bright red, and his mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. He looked like he had just been hit by a freight train. "Max," he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. I gave him a polite smile and nodded. The meeting continued, but Lucas was clearly rattled. He fidgeted in his seat, avoided eye contact with me, and seemed completely unable to focus on the discussion. Meanwhile, I took an active role in the conversation, sharing my thoughts on the company's future and proposing ideas for new initiatives. When the topic turned to leadership changes, Martin made a surprising announcement. As we look ahead to the next phase of Innovex's growth, it's clear that we need strong, capable leaders at every level of the organization, he said. I've been reviewing the performance of our department heads, and I believe it's time for some changes. Martin's eyes lingered on Lucas, who visibly tensed. Max has demonstrated exceptional insight, dedication, and leadership potential, Martin continued. I'm pleased to announce that he will be stepping into a more prominent role within the company. Applause filled the room, but Lucas remained frozen in his seat, his face pale and his hands clenched into fists. After the meeting, Martin pulled me aside for a private conversation. Lucas has been on my radar for a while, he said. I've received multiple complaints about his behavior, his micromanagement, his tendency to take credit for others' work, and his treatment of subordinates. It's clear that he's not the right fit for a leadership role. I nodded, unsurprised. We're going to reassign him to a less visible position, Martin continued. In the meantime, I'd like you to take over his team. I think you're exactly what they need. Thank you, Martin, I said. I won't let you down. The fallout from the meeting was swift. Word spread quickly about my true role in the company, and for the first time, people began to see me in a different light. Those who had underestimated me, or dismissed me, like Lucas had, were now forced to reevaluate their perceptions. Lucas, on the other hand, was furious. He avoided me for days, refusing to acknowledge my new position or the authority that came with it. But I knew he wouldn't be able to stay silent for long. One afternoon, as I was wrapping up a meeting with my new team, Lucas stormed into the conference room. This is ridiculous, he said, his voice shaking with anger. You don't deserve this position, Max. You're not a leader, you're just a guy who got lucky because of his inheritance. The room fell silent as everyone turned to look at him. I remained calm, letting him vent. I've worked my ass off for this company, Lucas continued. I've earned my place here. You? You're just riding your daddy's coattails. I stood up and faced him. Lucas, I said evenly, leadership isn't about yelling the loudest or taking the most credit. It's about supporting your team, listening to their needs, and making decisions that benefit the company as a whole. That's what I've been doing for years, quietly, behind the scenes, while you've been too busy inflating your own ego to notice. Lucas opened his mouth to respond, but I held up a hand to stop him. If you want to talk about earning your place, let's compare our contributions. I've spent years improving processes, solving problems, and building relationships with clients. What have you done, Lucas? Besides making everyone around you miserable? He stared at me, speechless. The confrontation marked the beginning of the end for Lucas. Over the next few weeks, his reassignment was finalized, and he was moved to a position where he would have minimal interaction with others. The team he left behind thrived under my leadership, and the atmosphere in the office improved almost overnight. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. With Lucas reassigned and my new role as team leader firmly established, the office atmosphere shifted dramatically. The tension and negativity that had loomed over us like a dark cloud began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of collaboration and optimism. It was incredible to see how the team responded once they were free from Lucas's toxic influence. Ideas flowed more freely, meetings became more productive, and morale improved almost overnight. For the first time, people felt comfortable speaking up without fear of being dismissed or belittled. As their leader, I made it my mission to foster an environment of mutual respect and trust. I held regular one-on-one meetings with each team member to understand their strengths, challenges, and goals. I implemented an open-door policy, encouraging everyone to come to me with their ideas, concerns, or feedback. It wasn't about being the boss. It was about being someone they could rely on, someone who had their back. One of my first major challenges as team leader came in the form of an unexpected client request. Clara Hughes, the client from our recent presentation, reached out with a proposal that could take our partnership to the next level. She wanted Innovex to develop an advanced software module that would integrate seamlessly with the system we had already built for her company. It was an exciting opportunity, but it was also a daunting one. The timeline was tight, the requirements were complex, and the stakes were higher than ever. If we succeeded, it would solidify our reputation as an industry leader. If we failed, it could damage the trust we had worked so hard to build. I gathered the team for a brainstorming session, laying out the challenge before them. This is going to be tough, I admitted. But I know we can do it. We have the skills, the knowledge, and the creativity to make this happen. So let's start by breaking it down. What do we need to get this done? The room buzzed with energy as the team began throwing out ideas and suggestions. Everyone contributed, building on each other's thoughts and pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. For the first time, I saw the full potential of what this team could achieve when they were given the freedom to innovate. As we worked on the project, I couldn't help but reflect on how far I had come. Just a few months ago, I had been sitting quietly at my desk, enduring Lucas's endless jabs and power plays. Now, I was leading a team of talented individuals, working together to tackle one of the biggest challenges in Innovex's history. It wasn't just about proving Lucas wrong or showing the world what I was capable of. It was about honoring my father's legacy and creating something meaningful, something that would make him proud. Martin Gray had been right all along. By starting from the ground up, I had gained a deep understanding of the company, its people, and its culture. I had earned the trust and respect of my colleagues, not because of my title, but because of my actions. And now, I was ready to take Innovex to the next level. The project for Clara Hughes was one of the most challenging endeavors I had ever undertaken, but it was also one of the most rewarding. We worked long hours, often staying late into the night to troubleshoot issues, refine designs, and test new features. There were moments of frustration and doubt, but there were also moments of triumph and camaraderie. One evening, as we were wrapping up a particularly grueling work session, one of my team members, a software engineer named Maya, turned to me and said, "Max, I just want to say thank you. It feels so good to work for someone who actually listens and cares. It makes all the difference." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I realized in that moment that leadership wasn't about authority or power, it was about making people feel valued and supported. When the project was finally completed, we presented it to Clara and her team. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Clara praised our work, calling it innovative, efficient, and exactly what we needed. The success of the project not only strengthened our partnership with Clara's company but also earned Innovex a wave of new clients and opportunities. The team's hard work had paid off in ways none of us could have imagined. In the months that followed, Innovex continued to grow and evolve. Martin, seeing the progress we had made, decided it was time to begin transitioning the company's leadership to the next generation. One afternoon, he called me into his office for a candid conversation. "Max," he said, "you've proven yourself in every possible way. Your dedication, your vision, and your ability to bring out the best in others, it's everything I could have hoped for. I think it's time we start preparing you to take over as CEO." I was stunned. "Are you sure, Martin?" I asked. "You've been such an incredible leader. I don't know if I can fill your shoes." Martin smiled. "You're not supposed to fill my shoes, Max. You're supposed to bring your own style, your own strengths, and your own vision to the role. And I have no doubt you'll do an amazing job." The transition wasn't immediate. Over the next year, Martin mentored me closely, teaching me everything he knew about running the company at the highest level. He introduced me to key stakeholders, guided me through complex decisions, and helped me navigate the challenges of leadership. When the day finally came for me to step into the role of CEO, I felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. But as I looked out at the faces of my colleagues, many of whom had been with me since the beginning, I knew I was ready. Lucas Porter's story didn't end quite as triumphantly. After his reassignment, he struggled to find his footing in the company. Without a team to control or subordinates to belittle, he floundered in his new role. Eventually, he resigned, citing irreconcilable differences with the company's direction. I didn't feel the need to gloat or celebrate his departure. In the end, Lucas had been his own worst enemy. His obsession with power and control had blinded him to what truly mattered: collaboration, humility, and the ability to learn from others. As for me, I'm proud of the path I've taken. It hasn't always been easy, but every challenge, every setback, and every victory has shaped me into the leader I am today. Innovex is more than just a company to me. It's a legacy, a testament to my father's vision and the incredible people who work tirelessly to bring that vision to life. And as I look to the future, I'm more determined than ever to honor that legacy and build something truly extraordinary. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe and turn on notifications to be the first to have radish and real stories with you. Have a great day.